In the late summer of 1989, Duncan McPherson, a 23-year-old from Saskatoon, Canada, left for Scotland to take up a new job as a hockey coach. Duncan's journey was more than just a career move, it was a test of his independence, and he was ready for adventure. But for Linda and Robert McPherson, his parents, the journey quickly turned into a nightmare. On August 2nd, Duncan flew to Germany to meet a friend before heading to Scotland. Confident, fearless, and an athlete with an impressive hockey background, Duncan had built a life defined by ambition. Even when faced with setbacks, such as being cut from a major league team in the United States, he persevered, eagerly accepting the coaching job in Dundee. He assured his family that he would call when he got to Scotland, but the call never came. Days passed. On August 11th, Linda suddenly woke up, feeling as if something terrible had happened to her son. Her motherly instincts warned her, and soon her fears were realized. Despite the lack of communication technology in those days, Duncan kept in touch. When the day of his new job passed without a word, Linda and Robert feared the worst. They called Duncan's friends, eventually reaching one of them, George Passat, in Germany. George confirmed that Duncan had gone on a trip, borrowing George's car, a red Opel, to explore. Now the McPhersons faced increasing fear, feeling alone and uncertain about what had happened to their son. Linda and Robert flew to Europe themselves, printing thousands of missing persons posters. They began following Duncan's footsteps to ski towns and lodges, stopping at police stations along the way. But every inquiry was met with the same answer: no sign of Duncan. The pair were restless. They were strangers in a strange land, but they pressed on, checking every hotel, inn, and train station they could find. Along the way, they learned that Duncan had withdrawn some money in Germany on August 7th. But days passed without any more transactions, sightings, or calls. Desperation set in. Finally, on September 14th, a lead emerged. A construction worker named Sebastian recognized the car from a poster. He had seen it parked near the Stubai Glacier Resort in Austria a few weeks earlier, abandoned. The McPhersons immediately headed to the resort. There, police found the car with Duncan's belongings inside: ice skates, a passport, an unsent letter, and a map. It appeared that Duncan may have gone into the mountains for a day of exploring. The Stubai Glacier, a popular tourist area year-round, boasts spectacular ski runs and treacherous hiking trails. The McPherson family, who were staying near the resort, clung to the hope that they would find Duncan alive. Locals reported seeing him with Walter, a snowboard instructor, just days earlier. Walter recalled giving Duncan a snowboarding lesson and enjoying lunch together. Duncan had talked excitedly about his new job and plans to explore Lake Garda in Italy. But when he failed to show up for his next lesson, Walter assumed he had left town. Then another disturbing clue emerged. A store clerk in Innsbruck, a nearby city, said Duncan had come in to buy a cassette tape, and he was not alone. He was accompanied by a dark-haired man he did not recognize. Linda and Robert began to wonder if Duncan's journey into the mountains had been voluntary. For weeks, the McPhersons searched the glacier valleys, following every lead and interviewing every local. There were rumors of kidnappings, encounters with dangerous characters, even whispers of Duncan's unexpected job offer for the CIA, which he had casually mentioned before leaving. They pursued every possible scenario. Could Duncan have been harmed? Had he wandered off, lost in the vast frozen wilderness? One lead suggested that he had been found in a nearby hut, looking confused and disheveled. But all of those leads were quickly quashed. Another possible lead emerged in 1993 when a television segment on missing persons recalled an encounter with an amnesiac American man living in an Austrian village under the name Mark. The McPhersons held their breath, but after a series of hopeful calls and inquiries, they confirmed that the man was not Duncan. Finally, in July 2003, a brutal summer heat wave caused record-breaking snowmelt on the Stubai Glacier. As the snow melted, a ski resort employee made a grisly discovery: a yellow ski jacket and a broken ski, barely visible through the melting snow. What they found confirmed the McPhersons' worst fears. Duncan's body was still there, preserved in the ice for 14 years. A coroner determined that Duncan likely fell into a crevasse while hiking on a glacier. They said his injuries were consistent with a simple hiking accident. Forensic teams believe he fell, suffocating in a confined air pocket. But for Linda and Robert, the discovery only raised new questions. Unanswered questions. The scene where Duncan was found unsettled his parents. His skis were shattered, revealing strange red paint stains. Fragments of his bones were scattered near his remains, but his rental boots were still tied, meaning Duncan may not have been wearing them when he died. The McPhersons dug deeper into the forensic details, finding more to raise suspicion. Duncan's forearm had been severed, and his leg had suffered a complex fracture that did not match a simple fall. The details became murkier as they learned about grooming machines, heavy vehicles that service the slopes and sometimes run over off-trail areas. Multiple experts independently concluded that Duncan's injuries could have been caused by a grooming machine. If true, the circumstances of Duncan's death moved from tragic to suspicious. Had a machine struck Duncan while he was still alive? Could he have survived the initial fall only to suffer this horrific fate later? Suspicions grew as more evidence was uncovered. Photos from Duncan's autopsy showed strange cracks and marks on his body and clothing, injuries more typical of contact with machinery. But the official explanation didn't work, and authorities were determined to close the case. Linda and Robert then learned that another fatal accident had occurred on the glacier just a year before Duncan went missing, under almost identical circumstances. Was Duncan's death covered up to protect the tourism industry? It is now clear to his parents that there may be something sinister going on, with the possibility that some people knew about Duncan's death but kept quiet. In the years that followed, Linda and Robert fought tirelessly for justice. They spoke to journalists, consulted forensic experts, and hired lawyers. Even when Austrian authorities dismissed their concerns, they continued, appearing in documentaries and investigative reports to draw attention to the truth. In one report, a U.S. ski accident expert concluded that Duncan's injuries could not have been caused by a fall. The damage to his skis and clothing, combined with witness testimony, painted a different picture. Duncan may have been alive when he fell into the crevasse, only to be struck by the machine. This horrifying conclusion suggested foul play, a possibility Linda and Robert could not ignore. Yet for every answer, more questions remained. Authorities refused to investigate further, declaring Duncan's death an unfortunate accident. But for Linda, the fight is not just about the truth, it's about accountability. In 2024, more than 30 years have passed since Duncan's tragic disappearance. His parents, now in their 80s, are more determined than ever to see justice done. For Linda, who has fought tirelessly to uncover the truth, her mission is no longer just about Duncan, it's about exposing the systemic problems that have plagued the investigation. Linda has said in countless interviews that her son's spirit, love of life, and boundless energy deserve better than the silence his case has endured. While they may never get the answers they desire, the McPhersons' journey remains a testament to the power of family love, maternal determination, and the quest for truth, even when shrouded in ice.